we have a problem where someone's threatening our values. Our Western values are being under threat, but who exactly is demolishing them? Because I've heard plenty of people say that we as Europeans and North Americans have decided that have, kind of like let down our own set of values and our own morality, and now the world is kind of like changing for the worse because our values are being demolished, and then so some sort of like violence is going on. Let's just discover the paranoia. Okay, what are Western values? Well, they refer to a set of social, political, economical, and even philosophical principles that rule or are the pillars of our societies. And by our, I mean if you're European or you live in America, especially in North America, maybe even if in Australia, New Zealand, those kind of like more developed nations, you likely fit in to the Western value thingy. It's funny because the literal definition of Western values claims that it's a diverse and evolving set of values. But at the same time nowadays, people claim that they are being demolished. Are they being demolished, or are they just changing a bit? Because we are humans and we are also evolving, and waves of migration happen, and different kinds of economical cycles happen, and we need different things on different times. We as people demand different things from culture at different stages and different times, and that's why we evolve also, because we have technological advances, we have different political situations and alliances and wars, and all those factors affect on what people want out of the culture. And the culture, that's why it's something that it's evolving, and why you cannot take someone from my country, I'm Spanish, if in case you didn't know, if you take me and my great-grandmother at my age and you sat us down, we would be from completely different cultures. Why is that? Well, because it's not only a matter of place, but also a matter of time. But anyway, going back to the roots of Western values, we have Greco-Roman antiquity. Yes, I could understand, like I take it to my life, I could understand why the Romans and even the Greeks had an impact on my society and my culture. But I also know that it's not something that directly affects my day-to-day life, because it's kind of like the lingering parts of a society that was the root of the society we have nowadays. I know it was an impact, but I also know that like plenty of Greco-Roman like sets of values that they used to have are like not applicable nowadays. And then we have Judeo-Christian ethics. Also, I understand why it makes sense, because yes, my country has a long history of being Christian, more specifically Catholic, and even like I personally have never grown with anyone religious around me, I don't think so. I understand why it's like something important, because yes, I celebrate Christmas, for instance. But I also understand that my culture doesn't directly come from Christianity. It has just taken the cool parts of it and the not so cool parts like slavery, something the Greeks and Romans also kind of like did. We've decided that this was not a good thing, and so we changed it. And the third pillar is the Enlightenment, which kind of like makes sense. The Enlightenment was this revolution of rationality in the 18th century, I would say. And if you take a look, it's kind of funny, because Greco-Roman culture was polytheistic, for instance. They had plenty of gods. But then we also take the Christian ethics. They only had one God, and it was, a bit different. Because think of and they had like different freedoms and different sets of values. For instance, my country, the Spanish Inquisition, that was wild, for instance. And then we have the Enlightenment, which is literally completely different to the other two. The Enlightenment was a breakthrough moment. It was literally made to promote science, to promote more secular types of countries, to promote separation of church and state, to, modernize society. Which is like, okay, so you've taken three different pillars and you've taken from them what you wanted, and then you've created Western values. Like if you take me and someone from, I don't know, California, and then you take someone from Poland, and you're like, what do you guys stand for? What do you guys think? We're gonna think completely different things. And if you say that Western values are the intersection between all the three different cultures, I would say, well, take someone from China or Japan, or from, well, I would say, or from like some country in Africa. More often than not, we will also have intersections. And I believe that that intersection would be very similar to the intersection of the three people living in Western societies. Also, I want to emphasize that I understand the politics behind Western values, because at first it was something of a breakthrough moment. Think of the Enlightenment. It was made to promote progress and human freedom. It was rooted in individualistic culture, and then in the 20th century you have all the socio-political aspects of the West, like free market capitalism, and then you have all the waves of feminism, liberal democracy, scientific method, and even the sexual revolution. And nowadays you have especially the right wing and right-leaning politicians and people who are on the spectrum, on the right, are literally cherry picking the Western values they claim to be Western values, because if feminism and sexual revolution was as important as, it originally was, I think they would fall into a bit of a hypercritical kind of thought, because if the West is advocating for all those movements and you only take the ones that serve you, then you're creating your own values. And it's funny how, especially as I've said, the right is claiming that we are living in an apocalypse. Like nowadays, we're losing Western values. But what have we lost exactly? Well, let me tell you the core principles of Western values, and we'll see and we'll discuss if we're actually kind of losing them or not. First of all, individual liberty and an emphasis on personal freedom in thought, speech, and action, with limitations only to prevent harm to others. Do I believe that in Europe this is happening? I don't think so. Some people claim that Europe is trying to make policies to not be able to say some atrocious things in social media, but yes, I do believe that there must be some limitations only to prevent harm to others. There are things that, if you don't regulate the internet, could be very harmful to other people and to the people involved. But if you take it to the United States, I kind of Jimmy Kimmel's show has been cancelled, and the one who's cancelled it was Trump's administration, and Trump is a right-wing politician who believes that Western values are being undermined. That's weird. But anyway, then we have democracy. I don't believe that we live in a full-on transparent democracy, and I would advocate for more kinds of voting and more kinds of public opinion and voices being heard in government. But we also don't live in an autocracy or anything like that, especially where I live. So yes, we live in a kind of democracy to which I don't fully, think is the best, but it's there. Then human rights and equality. I don't think we're losing human rights and equality. As a matter of fact, the trends have shown that more people each and every day have more human rights. We still have a lot to work on, but the trend's good. The trend is good. Then we have secularism and religious freedom, supporting separation of church and state, allowing for both religion expression and non-religious perspectives. I don't think we're losing it. The only thing that I believe is kind of triggering is that in most Western societies, people from Eastern societies or the rest of the world are coming to our countries, and because they, have different religions, you have a feeling that your religion's being undermined, when in reality is that if there's more people and those people are coming from different countries, of course they're gonna think different things to you. That doesn't mean that your religion is less or it's being under threat. Is that you get less of the piece of the pie, but that doesn't mean that your country is gonna be any less, because your country is not rooted in your religion, okay? I firmly believe that in a true secular state, that shouldn't matter. If atheists, I'm an atheist, would go around saying, hey, all these religious people are just kind of like undermining my atheistic views because I'm getting less percentage of the pie. It's like, dude, what the it's kind of like, the world evolves. You know that we cannot stay the same forever, and you know that you need people coming to your country because actually people are not having enough children. The problem is not that, women need to have more children. No, make better policies so people want to have children. And, it's kind of like normal that people don't want to have children as much as they used to. Because first of all, it's the first time in history where people get to choose if they want to have children or not. And also, the economy's not helping that much. Then, we have rationalism and scientific inquiry. I don't think in Europe, maybe in the US, but in Europe, I don't think that this is being under threat, other than the funding is not enough. Then finally, we have capitalism and market economies. I don't think that capitalism is under threat. I'm also not against capitalism being under threat, though, because there's things that could be, improved. And now we're getting deep into religion. As I previously said, I'm an atheist. No one in my family believes in God. Maybe my great-grandma, but she's like 101, so cannot take that much information about her. But thankfully enough, 2 weeks ago when I was browsing through a bookstore, because yes, I had nothing else to do and I spent like 2 hours there, I stumbled upon this book, which is The Utility of Religion by John Stuart Mill. I am someone who's read 2 philosophical essays in my life, but I read that shit in a day. It's really interesting. And it talks about how useful religion is. It doesn't talk as much about the belief, but about how good it is to have a belief in a God or a religion, especially from the collective and the individual POV. And so I want to talk about it because it kind of makes sense that a lot of Western values and people who claim that we are losing them are linking those values to religion. And is religion even useful in the first place? First of all, what do we use religion for, apart from understanding the world? Because if you believe in a religion, you already know the answer on how we are here. And I don't know. And honestly, I kind of envy you because you have a solution to a problem I don't. But at the same time, I don't envy you because I kind of want to know. I'm curious to know how it will develop. It's like an open ending. Society would be in an atrocious state if we did not teach any kind of morals. And that's a fact. We are conditioned not only by reinforcements to have a set of value, because in here he talks about how we, get positive and negative reinforcements of society and the people around us, and that makes us have a set of values. Because if I hit my brother and my mom is like, you fucking stupid bitch. And then I give something to him, and my mom's like, oh my god, you're a great sister. I'm more likely to do the latter and less likely to do the former. That works only if you're not a teenager, if teens are just something from another world. The thing is, we are not animals, and I have a problem with behaviorists for this mere reason. We need to understand why. Like, if it's wrong for me to hit someone, I need to understand why, because if not, it's kind of like useless. Because if I don't have the power of my mom, which is the authority, to see me, I'm still gonna hit my brother, and that's not a good thing. Why? Because I understand that hitting other people is bad, because it hurts him. And so I developed the value of not hitting people. Then Mill goes and talks about education and public opinion, how religion has this thing, and it's pure authority. It works like my mom in the example I just gave you. It's kind of like watching you all the time. It's like a big brother. And the thing is, if someone's following a set of rules because someone's watching them, it's kind of like sad, you know, because it's not actually coming from them. And that's when Mill talks about education and how a better education in humanity would give people a better set of values that don't need a God, which is good, because if we live in a society where some people believe in God, some people don't. But if we create a basis of, hey, we're humans and we need to respect ourselves and create a set of value to make sure we are all okay, it's like, isn't it great? Because if you believe in God, it would be like an addition to this baseline of humanity. Would we desire status and power, and would we want to act rightfully if we didn't crave public acceptance? We don't only have this big brother of God. We also have people around us surveilling us, and not only surveilling, but, you know, social pressure. It is a thing, and it can actually be a good thing. And I talked about it on my latest video that I'm just gonna put it down in the pinned comment. And yeah, in case you want to know more about it. The psychology of religion. What? And then I want to talk about the psychology of religion. Where does religion actually come from? Well, we have this thing that we kind of want to personificate things and phenomena. So, for instance, if it's raining, now I can have a reason why it's raining, you know, because like science has proven that the water molecules go up to the clouds, and then when circumstances align, it just falls. It's not that easy, but you know what I mean. Now I can understand why it rains, but if I'm a peasant in the Middle Age, of course I'm going to think it's an act of God. We have this thing that our brain loves to think that things are made by an agentic something. We do this all the time. Just think of whenever you're trying to fall asleep and you hear a weird sound and you think it's a ghost or someone entering your house trying to steal something. Yeah, that's our irrationality of thinking that it's an agentic self. Well, it's not. It's just the wind. Also, religion, it's kind of like DIY, because everyone has a different conception of what religion is, and anyone can extract different conclusions of the Bible or the teachings of religion, and everyone has different religions. Like, there's many branches of Christianity, for instance. I want to talk about a really interesting quote Mill said that it is, and the quote says, "Whilst human life remains unsatisfactory for the fulfillment of human aspirations, we will always desire to know greater things." That, as someone who's studying psychology, it's like, yeah, it makes a bunch of sense. Like, if we think of economics, for instance, the literal definition of economics is the management of resources that are limited to needs that are unlimited. Our wants and needs are ever reproducing. We always want greater things. And if they are not fulfilled, we always want more and more. And a great explanation to more is a God and an afterlife, which also Mill talked about it, the afterlife. If people act graciously in this lifetime just because there's the chance that in another life they would be in hell, but at the same time people don't truly believe that they're gonna go to hell. So they kind of like sin a bit and do things that it's not morally correct, but because God is an almighty loving God, then he will kind of like say, hey man, you know what? I know you feel sorry, go to heaven. I don't think it works like that. Like, do religious people and Christians truly believe that? Because, as I've said, I have no one religious in my circle. So, let me read you some quotes. Amorality founded in best and prudent opinions about common good without totally sacrificing the rights of the individual in favor of the community, or vice versa. Amorality that upholds both freedom, duty, and spontaneity, sparking in us the virtues of generosity and benevolence, whilst aspiring to our ideals. It is precisely those who have never been happy, the ones who have the desire for eternal life, or at least life after death. It must be hard knowing that one is dying without ever having lived. How can we link this to Western values? Well, the first quote I mentioned, we need to create a set of values and system that, has some flexibility, because we need different things in different periods and different times. But at the same time, we all know that there are like human basic rights and virtues of generosity and benevolence that are not only present in Christianity, for instance, or in Western religions. They are present in other Eastern religions too. But we need to give less emphasis on Western and more in values. Because are we losing values? Maybe yes, we're losing a bit of values, and we should all make a greater emphasis on how we can become more caring to the people around us and how we can be more virtuous. But that doesn't mean that the West is just losing itself. Humans are evolving. Our system, our culture, traditions are evolving faster than ever because of all the tech advancements, because we have advancements to the power of 2, and we also are hyper connected. Therefore, we know a lot. We're hyper aware. Therefore, we're kind of a bit more paranoid because things are under threat, but things are not under threat. Things are changing, and things have always changed. We just need to make sure that we change for the better. And well, on that note, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have anything to comment on, to say, feel free to comment down below. I talked a lot about religion. I'm not a religious person, so feel free to just say, hey, Paula, that makes no sense. Well, if you like this video, you have here a list of me yapping about psychology and society and all the things that affect our day-to-day life. And yeah, have a really nice week. I'll see you in the next one.